We recently just participated in our first track day. This track day was great to learn driving skills and finding where the weak points are in the car, and I've found quite a lot. So in this video, I'm going to fix and upgrade as much as I can before our next track day. Having visible numbers is an important aspect of a track car. This Escort will be number 712. Next, it was time to replace the control arm bushings, and I've been driving on these stock bushings for years. It's time to change them out for some stiffer polyurethane bushings. Alright, we got the control arms out. We need to go to the press now to actually press the bushings out because they're in there really tightly. So we have to use the press to actually get them out, and then we'll put the poly bushings into the press as well. And yeah, replace them. The bushings don't actually look too bad. They do look a little worn. It's got some chips missing, so it's definitely good that we're doing this. Kind of a pain, but should help. Alright, so we're in Mark's garage now. I brought my control arms here because I have a press here, and basically I'm going to press out the old bushings and put the new bushings in. And also Ben Zivo's here because he's doing some work here. And yeah, let's get started. Alright, so we got the bushings into the control arms, and it only took a little bit of struggling, but we got it to work. And yeah, they're all good to go. Hopefully this bolts right out to the subframe just fine and there's no clearance issues. But yeah, these things are like really stiff, really rigid. So I'm really excited to see how that kind of affects the performance of the car. It took me some wrestling to get the new bushings reinstalled since everything was much tighter now. But after both control arms were connected back up, it's time to move on to the next project, the vehicle speed sensor. A lot of things went well at the last track day, but I didn't have a working speedometer. But first things first, we're going to take the vehicle speed sensor out and check to see if it has resistance, to see if it's actually working. So yeah, let's tear into it. So there we go. This is the vehicle speed sensor. This basically connects right to the transmission, and as the transmission gears move, it moves this little thing right here, which sends a signal electronically to the computer and tells you how fast you're going. So basically we're gonna act like this is in the car by spinning this with a drill and checking the voltage on the backside and see if it's actually creating any voltage. No voltage. Ta-da! Alright, we got a new vehicle speed sensor. Looks good, looks shiny. Let's go to give it a test. Voltage! And just to confirm one more time before I actually put it all together that it works, I'm going to spin it while it's plugged into the car, and we'll see if the gauge cluster moves at all. Looks like it works. Okay, so now that I got the vehicle speed sensor working, I need to change out this gauge cluster because it tops out at 120 miles an hour, which is about as fast as I'm going on the backstretch of VIR and potentially other tracks. Supposedly probably hitting about 125, 130, so I do need a little bit more room on the cluster to be able to kind of know how fast I'm going before I hit my braking zones and whatnot. So I've got this right here, which is a gauge cluster from a ZX2 SR, and this one goes up to 150. So this will work. I don't think I'm ever going to hit more than that on a track, so this should suffice just fine. I'll probably go to a digital dash eventually in the future, but for the time being, this is going to help me out and help me be able to see kind of what speeds I'm doing coming into some of these corners. Alright guys, I've been hiding a secret from you. My Volk TE37 wheels on this Escort, one of them's bent. I've been trying to hide it pretty well because obviously I don't like to show off the fact that I have a bent wheel, but it's bent. I bought them this way, I didn't bend it. I got a good deal on it because of it. But yeah, it's totally functional, it totally holds air. I've never had a problem with it at all. It just, well, it's obviously bent. And you know, that makes me a little nervous when I'm going to the track to have a bent wheel. So yeah, we're going to change out these wheels. We're also going to go wider so we can fit wider tires on here and stickier tires. The tires that I went with are Falcon Azeni's RT615K Pluses. They're a much softer compound than what I was running previously, and they're wider. I have a 235 width for the front and a 215 width for the back. Because it's a front-wheel drive car, I'm going to be using reverse stagger. Wider on the front because the front tires will be doing most of the work, and not as wide in the rear to give the car some rotation. The 235 width tires are too wide for my TE37s, so I went out and bought some new wheels as well. I bought these. These are Koenig Hypergrams. They're 17 by 8, so they are half an inch wider than the TE37s. They're not a long-term wheel for me. I will probably go to something else eventually, but right now they clear my brakes, which is obviously important. They do clear the strut just barely on the top here, and well, they're the same diameter, so that's gonna clear the rotor diameter and everything as well. After getting the tires mounted up to the wheels, there were some small clearance issues. Nothing a little grinding on the factory spring purchase couldn't fix. This is a non-structural part of the strut and doesn't hurt the integrity at all. Alright, so to align this car, I contacted the company called Quick Trick, and Quick Trick sent out these awesome alignment tools so you can align your car in the garage, which is very helpful right now because, well, nobody's open right now to be able to get an alignment, and also I can fine tune it to how I want it. I don't have to just tell somebody specs and then hope that they do it the way I want it to. So this way I can really dial it in and get it exactly where it is, and I can know what it is. I'll make a more detailed video about this alignment tool and how to use it in the future when I put the coilovers on the car. But right now, there's a few more things I need to finish before this car is ready for the next track day. Working on the passenger side here, I've got a pad on this dash bar kind of that goes across there so that if, you know, you get in an accident or something, the passenger hits this instead of the metal. So that's a little safer. I've also kind of gotten rid of some of the little sharp edges on the side of this dash bar and stuff here. So it's all safe. The interior of this car obviously needs a lot of work, and I do plan on fixing the interior and cleaning it up a good bit in the off-season next year. But right now, I just don't have the time. It's all about function over form for me right now. So we are filling up just distilled water with water wetter, which is what that pink stuff is. Basically, when you go to the track, they don't want you to fill your car with actual antifreeze and coolant, because when it spills, it can make a mess on the track and be really slick and hard to clean up. So they want you to run water, and you are allowed to use water wetter as well. It's actually like a super coolant. It keeps temperatures actually a lot colder, but it doesn't protect against freezing. So I didn't use it at the last track day because it was, well, freezing. So I can use it this time because it's not gonna be freezing. We head out for the track tonight, and I've completed nearly everything on my list. I went out to give the car a small shakedown and make sure everything worked, but it didn't. So obviously I have a problem. The throttle body is off. The bolts that hold the throttle body onto the intake manifold seem to have worked their way loose somehow. So I took the throttle body off to kind of see what the deal was. And it looks like the metal inserts that go into the plastic intake manifold have worked their way loose. I've never seen this before on this car. None of my friends have seen this before. It's kind of a weird situation, but it's the situation I'm in. We have to leave to go to the track in the next few hours. And I've tried my darnest to get these inserts to seat themselves right, and they're not having it. So I have to go to the junkyard to get a new intake manifold to put on here so that I can actually drive the thing at this event. This intake manifold is ported out, so I'm going to kind of be detuning the car a little bit because I won't have a ported manifold, obviously from the junkyard, but it's going to make the car run, and I'm going to be able to make some boosts, hopefully, to kind of cancel out that port job. So let's go ahead and go to the junkyard and see if we can pull it off in time. I'm going to take this intake manifold off at this junkyard, and hopefully we'll be good to go. Clearly, I haven't shaved, I haven't done anything, because I'm stressed out, can you tell? Alright, we got it. It's a little dirty, but I'll clean it up. Okay, so I've got the new manifold on the bench here. My throttle body is obviously much bigger than the stock manifold. Pay no attention to the red in there. Some previous owner painted that, but or anodized. But anyway, the diameter is much larger than the stock diameter here, and putting that throttle body on is just going to be a real harsh restriction. The air is just going to hit that hard. It's potentially blow out the throttle body gasket and just problems that I don't want. So I am dremelining this out to basically report just the top half of this manifold. The bottom half of this manifold, where it attaches to the head, I will not port. My old one is ported, but this one's not. Shouldn't be too bad of a restriction because it's going from small to big, but this one's going from big to small, so I definitely need to make sure I drill this out. So that's what I'm going to do now. I swapped over all the new gaskets onto this manifold, and in a matter of hours, I had the swap completed. I had to tweak the tune just a little bit, but then we took the car to the track, and made it there just 1 hour before the track went hot. With the small improvements and new tires, the car performed much better than last time. But you'll have to watch our full video coverage from the event in an upcoming video on gears and gasoline.